Okay, folks, welcome back to the startup. I am Rob Barnes, your imaginary founder. Some of you know me as DevOps Rob. The startup is a series where we take a startup concept and we build this imaginary product, and we try to do so on the Hashi stack as we learn different things. We are not building an entire product, we're just building a subsection of the product just to kind of understand some of the workflows that a developer may run into and how we can solve some of these issues with the HashiCorp stack. So primarily the part we're focusing on is the account creation journey, so user sign up, and the login journey as well. So let's have a quick recap of what we've done so far. We, in the first episode, did some high level architectural kind of diagrams, and we looked at what we were going to be building, some of the services involved. As stated, it's pretty much focusing on the login journey and the account sign up journey. And then we began using a tool called Shipyard to build our local development environment. Essentially, it's Nomad that we're going to be using to run our application, right? That's the infrastructure component. That was pretty cool. We learned a bunch about Jumppad there. And in the next episode, we then went about trying to deploy a microservice to Nomad running in Jumppad, using some of the Jumppad functionality as well, right? Which was pretty cool. Now, the interesting thing about the last episode is the microservice we were running requires some secret environment variables to be injected into the container at runtime. We were able to get this working by performing some manual steps, right? But the idea is that whatever we do should survive a reboot, right? So we can tear down our development environment and we can spin it back up again, and a developer is going to be able to continue working on the product. They're not going to be hampered by the manual process of storing secrets in Nomad variables, for example, right? Which is how we're injecting it into the container, by the way. We are using Nomad variables. We considered a few different things like using Vault and the integration that Nomad has with Vault, but what we thought is that it was not a great fit for local development environments. For production, it's fantastic. But for local development environments, to be handling secret zero to get us authenticated with Vault, it just didn't seem like a great fit. So we want something that's a bit more developer friendly, locally running from your machine. So today in this episode, we are going to focus on some of the unsolved challenges from last week. So as I said, we were able to get everything up and running and working. We were able to test our verification service, which was fine. But when we tore down the development environment and we spun it back up again, we did get the expected error where the service wasn't functioning as expected because the environment variables needed for it to function properly were not in place, right? And because of that, the service just wouldn't get to a healthy state within Nomad. I said I'd go away. I said I'd have a think about a workflow whereby a developer, we can abstract away any complexity from the developer. They can just spin up their environment and it will inject it in there. And I believe I'll come up with just that. So the focus of today is going to be solving that issue there of how do we get secrets into our local development environments without, exposing like a secret zero or something like that, right? For those of you that don't know what a secret zero is, generally speaking, when you're dealing with secrets management platforms, you need some kind of secret to authenticate you to that platform, and that will unlock all the other secrets. So that first secret, which is the secret to unlock all other secrets, is what we refer to as secret zero. And we want to be very careful about how we handle that, right? So let's get into this. Let's do this, right? We'll just head over to my display. We'll sip some water because all this talking has got my mouth dry. And the solution to our problem is Vault Cloud Secrets, right? So we're going to have a little poke around with Vault Cloud Secrets. I'll just quickly sign in when it loads up. We'll have a quick poke around and see what's up. So if you've got a HashiCorp Cloud Platform, Vault Cloud Secrets is currently in beta, right? So we're messing around with beta, which means it's not safe for production. And in my defense, this is a local development environment. So perfect for beta if you ask me, that's my logic anyway. But if we have a quick look, I've already put my secrets inside there because this is all part of my research. But if we go to Vault Cloud Secrets, you'll see a screen like this. If you've never done it before, you probably won't have any applications there. You can easily create an application. So I've created one application called the verification service. And if we go inside the verification service, you will see I have 6 secrets. I actually don't need all of these secrets, to be fair. So I'm actually going to delete some of them. So I'll delete that. And I'll delete this. And I'll delete that. And I'll explain some of these secrets that we have here, right? So the secrets that we have, it's just key value pairs. That's kind of the premise of Vault Cloud Secrets. It's very simple secret storage, right? You want to store some secrets and get to it later. It's just an easy place to do, just like you would with any of the cloud secret managers, right? Now, the nice thing about Jumppad is Jumppad supports variables. We haven't got into that yet. We're going to have a look at Jumppad variables shortly. But if you want to pass in the value of a Jumppad variable, you don't have to do it in your code. You also don't have to do it at runtime where you pass in a flag in the command line that gives it the value of that. You can actually inject the value of a Jumppad variable using an environment variable, right? And Jumppad will respect any environment variable which is prefixed with HCL underscore var underscore whatever the variable name is, right? So you can see here on the screen, I'll just boost it a little bit just so you can see that a bit bigger. If that's boosting, there we go. Yeah, you can see here we have our 3 what the environment variables will be. So we have Twilio account SID, we have Twilio auth token, and we have Twilio service SID, right? And what that's going to do is that's going to allow us to, when we use the Vault Cloud Secrets CLI, inject these environment variables into our runtime environment so that Jumppad can pick it up when it's starting up and deploying its development environment, right? So, I've already done that. I thought I'd put these things inside here to save me having to enter it and take you folks off the screen while I enter secret information, right? So we have that there. The next thing we need to do is we need to make some adjustments to our Jumppad blueprint, right? So in order to get our secrets, the things that are in Vault Cloud Secrets into Nomad variables within our local environment, the easiest way for us to do it at the moment is to use the command line, right? But obviously, like I say, we want to reduce the cognitive load on developers, and we don't need them to, have to do these things manually. They just want to run Jumppad up or Jumppad dev, and then they've got a fully functioning development environment in order for them to continue to create value, right? So if we just have a quick look at the Nomad CLI, I'll just type in Nomad var -h, and we'll just have a quick look at the help that comes up. I'll just make this a little bit bigger so we can read it. So here we go. So we can create variables, we can update them, we can examine them, we can list them, we can do all sorts of different things with this command. And essentially what we want to do is when our Nomad environment comes to life within Jumppad, we want to automatically run this command, right? So what we can do is we can use, I think it's called a template resource within Jumppad. I'll just look this up so we can see template. So we can use this resource here. I'll just get to a working example where we can inject values, right? So we have this resource here, and the source for our template is some here doc. So we have some here doc in here. Within that here doc, this is where we can inject variables, right? Now, I believe you don't actually have to do it this way. I believe you can actually do it with inline variables. Let's have a look. So basically, this template here would render this file here, right? Which is super cool, right? But here we can actually do inline variables, right? So we can actually specify some variables within Jumppad, and we can basically populate these templates with the values of those variables there, right? And that's probably a good place to start, right? So if we're going to create a few variables, I'll just make this a bit smaller, right? You can see I've already had a play around here. I'm referencing a variable that doesn't quite exist at the moment, which is fine, right? So we'll start off by creating a variables.htcl file. We'll just use this. That would be variables.htcl. Amazing. And we'll just get the syntax, but it's pretty similar to Terraform in the way that we declare variables. And where is variables? Here we go. So variables, right? And that is pretty much how you define a variable there. So we'll do the same, right? So it'll be variable, well, if I can spell, variable, and the name is Nomad client count, and we want to give it a default value, right? And this is a requirement in Jumppad. You can't sort of just declare variables with no default and then force you to inject it at runtime. It requires a default for the variable declaration, right? And we'll say we'll have 5. Yeah, we'll have 5 Nomad clients, right? So we'll save that and we'll just copy and paste this, right? So essentially what we want to do is we want to create variables for each of these 3 secrets that we have in Vault Cloud Secrets, right? So we will just paste that there, and I'm going to do this all in capital letters, and I'll explain in a moment why I'm doing this all in capital letters. We know my spelling is a funny old thing, so I just want to just kind of get this written out before auth underscore token before anything. So the reason why I'm specifying these variables here in all caps lock is because of Vault Cloud Secrets, right? Now, I did reach out to the product team and gave them this feedback, and hopefully this is going to be changed in a near future version. But essentially what happens is when you use the Vault Cloud Secrets CLI and it injects the secrets into an environment variable, if you can see here, I've got HCL var underscore Twilio account SID, right? Now the HCL underscore var is all in capital letters and the rest of it is in lowercase, right? But what Vault Cloud Secrets does is it automatically converts that into all uppercase, right? So if we don't cater for that, then Jumppad isn't going to know what variable to respect, right? So we have to have it all in capitals for now, which isn't ideal because we're changing our development environment to suit Vault Cloud Secrets. But in a new version, that will likely change to be case sensitive, where we can pass flags and specify the formatting of our secrets output, right? So I'm going to do it all in capital letters. And for default, we don't want to put any secrets inside here. So we'll just put change. If I can't even spell that, can I? So change dash me, right? And then we'll just do the same for the other 2, right? There's nothing too fancy about this. It's going to be Twilio account SID. So we'll just pop in account underscore SID and we'll put change me. And one more time. And this time it's going to be service SID, right? And it's going to inject all these things directly from Vault Cloud Secrets, right? So that's cool. That's super cool. So what we can do now is we want to, we messed around with the Nomad command line to actually create the Nomad variables. We want to actually build a script that Jumppad can use every time it spins up an environment to do that, right? And we can use the template resource for that, right? So if we head back here, right, we essentially want to, we'll copy and paste this into our Nomad file. So if we go to Nomad and we create this new resource here, and we're going to call this Nomad underscore variables. And obviously we need to adjust our here doc. So our here doc is just going to be like a bash script, if you like, right? So we'll just do the usual start of a bash script, but we'll do it as shell. So it'll be bin sh. Because it's inside a container environment, a lot of them are shell. They don't have bash in them. So just to make life simpler, we'll do that, right? And if we look at this, we will have to do something along the lines of nomad var put, right? And let's have a quick look at the rest of what we've been told here, right? So we need to give it the path, right? So if you remember, the path is the specific element within a Nomad job, which is going to be able to access the variables, right? So we were doing Nomad / jobs, and then it was job name, task group name, task, right? And that's if you want to do it most granular. If you want to allow it to the entire task group, well, then you stop at task group. If you want to allow it to the entire job, then you stop at job, right? We want to give it the path, which is Nomad / jobs. And our service was called, I think it's called verification. In fact, what we'll do is we'll just have a quick double check of that. And yeah, everything is called verification, right? So that's all good, right? So verification, I spelled it correct, but I don't trust myself, so I'm going to copy that. So at the moment, it will put that to allow the job verification in order to access those variables, but we want to make it a bit more granular. And the task group is also called verification, and the task is called verification as well, right? So that's the first bit. Now, secondly, we need to actually pass the secrets or the key value pairs, if you like, to our job, right? So let's see if I can get any kind of guidance on this. So if we do nomad var put and see if we can get an example. So nomad var put -h and see if it gives us a full example here. Here we go. And then yeah, so okay, cool, amazing. So we have already put this path in, and then we just need to, oh, here we go. We want to do it this way. We want to just give it key value pairs, right? So our key value pairs is going to be, if we look at our job file, is going to be these three here, right? So I'll actually just copy and paste this, and we'll just amend this. So if we head inside here and then we paste them all into here, and that's indentation's a bit much, so let's just shift that back a bit, and that should do. So we'll do Twilio account SID equals, and because this is a template, we want to reference the variable, right? So if we do quotation mark inside here, we'll do dollar and parentheses, and we want to specify, so it's variable dot, and it's going to be that, right? So at the moment, the default we set for that is change me. So when we run this, it will set it as change me, right? Unless we invoke our workflow that we've described. So we'll do the same for the rest of them. There's nothing fancy about it. It's just doing the same things. And we'll just reference variable .auth token and final one. And it's going to be $. Hopefully I've not made any mistakes, but this is Rob Barnes you're talking about. So I wouldn't hold your breath if I were you. And we'll just copy and paste service ID in that, right? Cool. So that script actually render a bash script with those actual values in there. I'm not actually going to show you the bash script it renders because some of the information in there is secret. But that should invoke if we run our Jumppad up or Jumppad dev, right? And now the last thing is we need to store it. We need to like basically give it a destination as to where it's going to go, right? And we want it to go in this location here, right? Within our Nomad cluster, right? So I think in files we have, it'll be files Nomad scripts, right? So that's what we're basically mapping to our volume. So we'll do the same here. So it will be files / Nomad / scripts, right? Because when we spin this up, that's what it's going to mount to the volume, right? And then we'll just call this Nomad - variables .sh, right? So it's going to render that. Or at least we hope it's going to render that, right? Now, the last thing we need to do is, well, with it in terms of the actual blueprint itself, is we need to create what we call a remote exec, right? Because we're rendering the script, but we're not actually running the script as part of our blueprint. So we want to do that, right? Now, I had a little play around with this, and the way we're going to do it is, let's just have a quick look at the remote exec. I can't remember if this is up to date. I actually submitted a PR for the documentation earlier on today. So we'll see if this almost looks good. A couple of things that need to change, but it almost looks good. We'll copy that and we'll refactor this by pasting it in here. So firstly, we want to rename this, right? So, oh yeah, so it's not been, my PR has not been merged yet, but it's remote_exec. And that's what I found out from my travels. And we'll name this Nomad_vars. In terms of image, right, there's not actually an official Docker image for Nomad. And essentially what we want to do is we want to use a Docker image in order to be able to run this script or run this command, right? What Nick and Eric have done, who created Jumppad, is they've actually created, this is how the Nomad environment spins up. They've actually created a Dockerized version of Nomad, which is what's actually running when we spin Jumppad up. So we're just going to use that image there, right? So let me see if I can grab my notes and see if I can find the actual repository that they were using. And yeah, here we go. So it's shipyard run. So this is from the old shipyard. Let's undo that. So copy that, and I'll just paste that in here, right? So that's the image that we want to use, which is cool. And we want to attach it to our network. Now I can't actually remember what the network was called. Our network is called local. So that's all good, right? So the network stanza is fine. In terms of the command that we want to run, well, it ain't that, right? So let's adjust that. And firstly, we want to fix this typo as well. I did actually fix this in the PR that I submitted, but Nick's busy, so he hasn't reviewed it yet. So we want to do sh, and we want to do, I think it's going to be /scripts /nomad. What do we call it? I can actually just copy and paste this. It's going to be that, right? So scripts / nomad -variables.sh, right? And we don't need the rest of these, and we don't need that comma anymore. So what's going to happen is it's going to spin up this container. It's going to attach it to this network, and it's going to run this command, which essentially is going to invoke this script here, right? Now, in order to do that, we are actually going to have to mount the volume to that, right? And the source of that is actually going to be our template, right? So if we do, actually, we don't need the quotation mark. So if we do resource dot template, and our template was called, what's our template called? Nomad variables, right? Where are we? So I've lost it. Resource template dot nomad variables, and I think it's dot destination. So that's the destination that it's actually writing to, and we want to place that within this folder in our within our container, right? So it's going to be scripts / and we'll just copy this, right? Variables .sh, right? So that's cool. Now, what's going to happen is, because this is Nomad running within the container, it's going to try and do this by default at localhost, right? And localhost is within that container. It's not actually within our Nomad cluster that Jumppad is spinning up for us. So what we need to do is we need to pass an environment variable which tells the command line which Nomad cluster to run the command against, right? So it's similar to the console one, but this one is just Nomad adder. And we want to change this a little bit, right? So it's going to be resource dot, geez, I can't actually remember what it is now. Resource dot nomad underscore cluster. I think this is right. Yeah, I think, what was the cluster called? Nomad cluster dot dev, right? And I think it's the metadata we want is server underscore FQRN, and FQRN stands for fully qualified resource name, right? So that's the address, and we just want to update the port, which is going to be 4646. And in theory, this should be fine. This should run, right? So if we just clear out our terminal, we'll save this. Let's just go back to our variables file, make sure that's all saved. So we're just going to test this first, just to see if our blueprint is, everything's written correctly, at least, right? Before we test the workflow of injecting the secrets directly into our environment, right? So we'll just change directory. So change into Jumppad, and just clear that. And we'll run Jumppad up and see if we have any issues, right? And let's have a look. Fingers crossed, we are all good. So far, it's not looking bad. It's not looking bad at all. No errors yet. Though, I think I've forgotten that there might be some dependencies I needed to put in there. So let's have a quick poke around in our file and see. So the order we want things to run is we want this exec to run when that template has rendered. But in order for it to run, we need the cluster to be up and running. So there's a possibility that I need to put in some dependencies because there's no dependencies on this. But then again, it might be fine because we have this resource.nomadcluster.dev server fully qualified resource name. That should build a dependency graph. So I think we should be okay. I think it should be fine. But where you're not referencing resources directly, you may want to use the depends on argument, very similar to Terraform, and specify the resources that it depends on. So that way it won't run until these things are in place, right? So hopefully it's not too much longer, maybe a few more seconds to a minute. And we should hopefully have that back up and running. So if we just head over here, refresh this and see. We're getting there because Nomad is kind of running, but we haven't got the connector job deployed yet, which is something that comes as standard when you use Jumppad to deploy your Nomad cluster, right? So fingers crossed, I'll just refresh this page and see if we're any closer. We are not. I'll just zoom this a little bit and see where we are. So it says it's creating a cluster. I'll just refresh that and see if there's any change. It could be that it's still deploying clients potentially. Maybe not. Maybe it's actually just sorting out the actual connector itself because all the clients are there and ready. I think we said we wanted 5 according to our variables default. We'll have a quick look and remind ourselves. Yep, we said 5. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. That one is the server, but there's a client on there as well. And this is the 5th one. And if we head over to server, our server is alive. It's using 1.4. I've actually asked Nick if we can actually push an upgrade to that, which I know he was working on a bit earlier on. We still don't have our connector job up and running yet, but I think if we've gotten this far, I don't think there's any issues with my syntax or anything like that within the blueprint. So it should, fingers crossed, be okay. I really want to give myself a round of applause, but I'm nervous that I'm going to jinx it. So I'm going to hold tight. But the moment I see connector job, we are going to cheer. But that moment is not yet. So we're just going to have to wait, right? But while we wait, I'll just take you through. Oh, there's an error. What have I done? Something is wrong. Let's see if we can see what the issue is, right? So there was an exit code, and I might have to put debug mode on to try to understand that. But at the moment, it's, you know, it's not that. I'm pressing all these buttons to see what sound effects we get. It's not that. It's not that either. That's the sound effect. Right, let's give ourselves one more. So what we'll do is we'll debug this, right? So we'll do debug. Export log level underscore log level, and that's going to equal debug. I give myself another one just for almost making a mistake there. Right, and then we'll run Jumppad up again and see if it tells us any more information about that. Okay, cool. So it's saying it cannot find this variable, right? Which is interesting. Very, very, very interesting, right? Let's see. So we have the variables file here. Is it only this one it can't find, or is it? Have I made an error or something? So to the service ID, we saved that. Let's just scroll further forward and see if there's any other issues that come up. I can't actually see any other issues. So I am really, really confused as to exactly what's going on here. Let's just go back to our template and just make sure I didn't screw up anything here. Variable, I think it was the service one it said it had an issue with, right? Twilio service SID not found. Okay, I'll just hit save just to make sure that I didn't forget to save or anything, and just run that one more time and see if we still get the error, and it looks like we still do. I'm going to go back to the beginning of that run just to see if it does any other issues there. So it's weird because here you can see it's actually rendering our template correctly. So that's fine. So that looks good. So a little bit confused. I'll just quickly refresh this and see. We have that connector job. I'll just double check and make sure that nothing funky is going on. So variables are definitely not there at the moment. So let's just go through this and see if anything jumps out to us about these variables, because it only seems to be one that it has an issue with from what I can see so far, right? Let's keep going. I don't see any reference to my environment variables because I can't see anything caps locked. Okay. We'll keep going. So here, we're getting closer to the error. So yes, I must have screwed something up somewhere because it only seems to be complaining about this, right? So let's just go back to variables. So we've actually got the file that was rendered here. Yeah, I'm so confused as to what's actually going on, right? So if we go to the execute, I think that looks good to me. So here we are. So we're rendering from that template. It's the environment there. I can swear that looks all good to me. Did I forget to do something within this? Right, I think I know what I've done. I've done a boo-boo. These are new lines, and I haven't. It's basic Unix mistake. Let's give myself another. Right, save. And this should work now, right? Fingers crossed. And it's still not working. Did I hit save? I hope I hit save. Is it still? So it failed to parse that. Let's have a look here, right? So I think we've solved the first issue. So now we have another issue. And failed to parse KV data, invalid key value pair. Right, format must be key equals that. So I'm going to make the assumption maybe it doesn't like spaces, is a guess, potentially. So let's do that, I think. Well, I would have thought that's fine. Oh, let's do that. And we'll do that and that. Let's have a quick once over just to see. And I'll just delete the white space. We'll save that. I've definitely hit save. And let's see if it complains this time. All right, Jumppad up. And that was the issue. Okay, so let's check this, right? If we go to variables, we now have our variable here, right? And it's available to our verification task, and we have change me, right? Amazing. So we've been able to debug that. That's cool. We're going to tear this down, and now we're going to try it again using the Vault Cloud Secrets command line tool. And the idea is that instead of it saying change me, it's going to have the actual secrets inside there right now. To be fair, only the auth token is really secret. So I may give you a peek at one of the other ones just to see that the value has actually changed, right? So let's clear our screen, and we'll do Jumppad down, because what goes up is definitely coming down in our development environment. So we'll tear that down. It shouldn't take too long at all. All right. And we'll just close all of these. That shouldn't take too much longer to destroy our environment. It's still destroying. I think it's because there are so many clients, right? And while it does that, just to make our lives a bit easier so it's not spinning up so much infrastructure, I'm going to change our variables, specifically the Nomad client count. I'm going to change that to 1, right? So instead of having to spin up 5, we're going to spin up just the 1, right? And I'll double check with Nomad. But it is actually copying this image. So when we deploy our cluster, it should actually have our local image deployed to it, right? So we'll save that. Now, let's get into Vault Cloud Secrets and test this out, right? So the Vault Cloud Secrets CLI is VLT, right? Now if we actually head to Vault Cloud Secrets, you can click on this link here where it says how to use your secrets, right? So you can get this. I'm using a Mac, so and maybe it's detected that. So it's just this tap that you have to install. I already had it because I have HashiCorp tools, and you want to do brute install VLT, and essentially you want to log in. So VLT login, which is an interactive process, which is kind of good for this development environment that we're doing. And I don't need to do any of these steps because I've already done it because I was messing around researching with this, right? But you want to initialize a configuration, right? Which is going to basically store some information locally about your organization and your project and any apps in Vault Cloud Secrets that you have made. You've seen we've got an app called verification service. And then you can do some stuff. You can read the secrets in plain text, or you can do this, which is basically what we want to do. We want to do Vault Cloud Secrets run. And what we're going to have to do, so I'll do VLT run, and I think we need to do -A to tell it what the app name is, right? I remember running into an issue with this, right? And our app name, just close this off, is verification service, right? So we'll just copy that because I can't spell verification, as you folks know from the rest of this series. And then we want to do exactly what that example did. So we want to do -C, and we'll just put quotation there, and we want to do Jumppad up. So Vault Cloud Secrets is a process that's going to run, and then the sub-process of that is going to be Jumppad up. And in that sub-process, it's going to inject, or at least I hope it's going to inject these environment variables so that Jumppad can pick them up, right? So if I run this, oh, I'm currently not logged in, right? So I said I didn't have to do all of that. Let's give ourselves another. So we'll do VLT login and login successful. That's because I was already logged into actual Vault Cloud Secrets itself. I'll just close this off. That's great. And then we'll go again, right? Actually, let's clear our screen. So start again. Clear. And we'll run this command again. And hopefully I can give myself some applause, right? And so far, so good. It is, I guess we're still in debug mode. So it's running everything. So that's cool. I can see it's already rendered the variables script again, which is super cool. And basically, it's just a waiting game now, right? So head over here, just click that home button, and nothing's happening. Right. So Nomad's kind of up and running, but it's not all the way there yet. We'll have a look. This time we've only got one client, which is good, plus our server, which is acting as a client as well. And our servers are live. So there isn't as much infrastructure to run this time round. So hopefully it doesn't take that much longer, right? But we'll just have a quick poke around with Vault Cloud Secrets, right? So this is the application that we're using, and within our application we have 3 secrets, which is 3 key pair values. As you scale, you can create new applications. I can create an application called API dash server maybe, and just put a description. This is the main API server for the application. So we'll create that app there. And once you create the app, it's as simple as add new secrets. So we'll just put username is me. I can't even spell me. Oh my gosh. Right. And save. And then we'll add another secret, and it will be password is password. Super cool. So username and password, and now we'll be able to inject those as environment variables into any processes running. So while we've messed around with that, we'll just clear screen. And we'll have a look at Nomad, and we'll refresh this page, and we have our connector service actually running. And then if we actually take a look at our variables, we have our variable inside there. Let's just click into that. And let's go with service ID. I'll give you a quick peek of that. It shouldn't say change me this time. It should have injected the actual secret, which is coming from Vault Cloud Secrets. So let's have a look. And it has. Where's that round of applause? Let's do this. Love it. Absolutely love it. That's amazing. So we solved the problem that we had last week, right? So we deployed the application. The application is not actually deployed anymore. I must have accidentally deleted the job stanza, but it's fine. We can actually, we'll do that. Let's actually, let's do that. Let's do Nomad. Oh, actually, it's not going to work inside here. Let's change directory back to the other directory. We clear that. And we'll do Nomad job run. Now, bear in mind, I can actually have this as part of the spin up process with the development environment, which I will, right? And the file is the verification service.hcl, and I'll hit enter, and it's deploying that. So it's one's desired, one's placed. We don't have any healthy ones yet, but if we head over to jobs, I don't see any issues or envisage any issues coming up. So that actually looks all good. And let's just see, we've got one healthy. We'll just have a quick look at the logs. And yep, that's all up and running. Fantastic. The only thing left to do is, we'll just clear this out, just test our actual microservice, right? Because this is using like a Twilio sandbox type of environment, and this simply not going to work if the credentials that we've passed in from Vault Cloud Secrets are not correct. So if there's any mistakes in the process where it's injected those secrets into the Nomad variables, then that means that there's going to be an issue with what has been injected into the container running our microservice. So essentially it probably won't work, right? So let's just quickly curl our endpoint. I actually have this in my history command, so I'll do history and we'll grep for curl. Oh, curl, and we'll just copy this one here, which is fine. Clear, and we'll paste that. So this is just going to do a post request. I think we did this this test in the last episode. I'll just hit enter and we should get a response. And we do get a response, right? So just keep the applause coming. Keep the applause coming. It's working. It's working. Gotta love that. Gotta love that. So I think we're going to wrap the episode here because I think I've been able to prove a really good use case for Vault Cloud Secrets, right? I was trying to figure out how this would work. In native cloud providers, it's obvious the use case if you're running Azure function apps and you want to use Azure Key Vaults to store secrets. It's native, so it's easy to get your secrets inside your function apps. But here's a really good use case for Vault Cloud Secrets and why you want to use something like this. And the nice thing is you can store secrets here and you can actually synchronize it to different cloud environments. You can synchronize it to AWS, you can synchronize it to Azure, wherever you want. Let me not say wherever you want. Let me see exactly where you can synchronize it to, right? Let's see if we've got integrations, right? So we have an integration with AWS Secrets Manager, so you can sync secrets from here into AWS Secrets Manager. So if your production environment is in AWS, you can use the same thing. And I don't actually think, I think that's it at the moment. And obviously you've got ways to integrate it with Docker and GitLab and Terraform. But this is still in beta. This is still relatively new. So give it a try, kick the tires a little bit. Let us know the feedback on that. I know the product team are very keen to speak with people. In me playing around with this, I've already provided them with some good solid feedback, which is looking like they're going to act on in the short-term future. So yeah, have a play around with it and kick the tires and let us know what you think about that, right? But that is where I'm going to wrap the episode, right? So in the next episode, I'm not quite sure exactly where we're going to take this, but we're going to continue building on the development environment. And once we've got it to a state where we're completely happy with it, then we'll start looking at our production environment, how we're going to build and deploy that, and how we're going to take a dev from code on your laptop, local environment, to multiple environments, so staging and production, all from one code base, right? So we'll see how that goes. But thank you so much for rocking with me, and I'll catch you on the next episode of The Startup. Peace.